when we zoomed in super duper close to the sine function, you guys were so confident in telling me that it was a linear function. That is called local linearity. And since there are functions that have this local linearity, we're able to do slopes with almost all types of functions that you've played with in other courses before. Now let's talk about slope a little bit more detailed. If you took AP Pre-Calculus last year, you know this formula. If you took Algebra 1 a few years ago, you know this formula. But in a previous courses, we started talking about the average rate of change. And the average rate of change is defined to be the slope of the secant line connecting 2 points. So let's say I have this graph, and I have this point at 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and I have this point at 8. I could find the average rate of change between them by creating a secant line, or a linear function essentially, going through those 2 points. And since I'm just wanting an average rate of change, or a slope between 2 points, a slope of a secant line, I literally just need the formula for slope. So throw it back. If anybody was in AP Pre-Cal, I would love the AP Pre-Cal version of the slope formula, but if we can't remember that, let's go back to Algebra 1. What is the Algebra 1 formula for slope? That slope-intercept form, thank you, that's a good one too, but slope itself, M equals. Rise over run, can we give me more details on that? It's a slope-intercept form.
Wait.
This should be a fraction. Okay.
Y2 minus Y1.
Okay.
Over X2.
Fabulous. In AP Pre-Cal, you codified this and made it a little fancier in function notation, and we wrote that the average rate of change is f of x2 minus f of x1, which is just the outputs of f at x2 and x1, which is wise, over x2 minus x1. These are slope formulas. This is what we did in AP Pre-Calculus, or in Pre-Calculus class. Now, the question with calculus becomes, what if I don't care about the slope of a secant line? By the way, I didn't write down the word secant line, but I've said it 3 times. Do you think you should write that down?
Yeah.
Yes, this is the slope of a secant line. And calculus starts to push the envelope a little bit, because instead of just looking at exactly what's happening for a secant line, we start to look at what happens at exactly 1 point. So average rate of change took 2 points to make that secant line. But if we're curious and we're like, well, what happens at exactly 1 point? So if I draw myself a graph just to see what that might look like, again, here's my random curve. Let's say I wanted to know what was happening at exactly 3. I want to know what the slope of the line here would be if I took this graph and I zoomed in really close, like we did with the sine function at the beginning of class, where we could count the rise and the run. We want to know what that slope might be, and that is the essential question of calculus, is how do we find these slopes at exactly 1 point instead of 2 points? Does anybody have a good idea of how maybe we could take this formula we've already written down that requires 2 points and fix it or use it in some way that would show us how to find the slope at exactly 1 point? What's a good idea maybe? What if we zoom in really close? I like the way you phrase that. What I'm going to say on here is, what if we found, hello, I can't write any words today. Find a point that is really close. So we're going to find a coordinate point that is really close. If I was wanting you to find a coordinate very close to 3, what coordinate point could you use? 2.9999999, or 3.0000001. That's technically bigger than 3 or smaller than 3, correct? But it's very close to it. That is the idea we're going to use to start finding some slope patterns amongst some functions that we're going to explore in class. We're going to use functions and numbers that are very, very close to each other so that we can estimate using average rate of change, because that's the only tool we have right now, to find what's happening at a particular instant. We're estimating instantaneous rate of change using average rate of change. When we ran this experiment of using the average rate of change to find the estimation of this instantaneous rate of change, the first function we did was x squared, and we found the slope pattern through our exploration to be 2x. Does that make sense? We're going to repeat this same process. This time we're switching our f of x function, and I'm just going to increase the degree a little bit. So when we go back to our Desmos to do our second exploration and our second rate of change, we're just going to change the function to x cubed, and we're going to see what happens with the slope pattern this time. When we did the experiment with this one, you guys told me looked like a quadratic, and I'm going to be particular with you. It's a quadratic that has been stretched vertically by a factor of 3. Do you notice a pattern amongst these slopes yet? How we go from a quadratic to this linear function and a cubic to this quadratic function? You don't notice a pattern yet? So we're saying we need to do it one more time? Okay, great, let's do it one more time. We're going to switch all of our numbers. This time we're doing a quartic function, which is x to the 4th power. But again, on your Desmos, the only thing you need to switch is the f of x function because you've set yourself up. Once we did the quartic function, we saw that it looks like a cubic function. In particular, it is a cubic function that has been vertically stretched by a factor of 4. Do we see the slope pattern now?
Exponent just goes to the front.
Exponent just goes to the front, and then
And then the new exponent goes down.
the degree goes down by 1. My friends, calculus is all about finding the patterns within slopes and the patterns of accumulations of change. Slopes are about change. Accumulation of change is all what calculus is about. So our goal in this class is to be able to talk about slope patterns and find these particular patterns. You actually informally discovered what's called the product rule that we will talk about in like 3 or 4 class periods and define it more particularly. But you guys just discovered the product rule in calculus using slope patterns. If we can do slope in Algebra 1, we can do calculus. Yes? Now, the only other thing I really want to touch on today before we're done listening to me talk is about what proper limit notation should be, because this idea that we're using of getting really close to something is called a limit. So a limit is that concept of getting really close to something. And we're going to actually talk about defining these limits and answering limit questions next class, but I want us to understand first and foremost proper limit notation. When we are writing a limit, I don't know what limit notation you learned in a previous course, but in mathematics, a proper limit notation looks as follows. You will write the limit as x approaches some number, we're going to pretend like it's 5, of the function, we're going to call it f of x, is equal to whatever the limit is. Writing them properly and saying them properly is the number one goal for today. Because I know we understand slopes. We've been doing slopes since we were like in 8th grade. But the limit notation and speaking the limit notation might be new, or I might be changing the way that you know this concept. In particular, the way that you pronounce this is the limit as x approaches 5 of f of x is 2. You can also say this as the limit of f of x as x approaches 2. X approaches 5, is 2. So the little middle section, you can switch the order in which you say them. I naturally, when I'm reading them and writing them, do the top one, but then it sounds weird sometimes, and then I'll switch to the bottom one. They mean the same thing. Saying it out loud correctly, as we start talking about limits in the next couple classes, you won't be as lost if you know where the words I'm saying come from in these limits. it has multiple parts. You do have to stack them. They cannot be written in any other way except for this. Make sense? So we have the limit symbol, what number our x value is getting super duper close to. That was your post-it note number, if you will. The name of the function, we called all of ours f of x today, and what the answer would be, what our estimation of that limit is.